Okay, welcome back, everybody, for the UTMB CCC Instant Reaction Show. Back in the studio here. I think this is day 8. We're all running on fumes here after incredibly memorable CCCs and UTMBs. This is our AKA Prosecco show. So cheers to our co-hosts in studio here.
Cheers.
To introduce our co-host, who will obviously need no introduction, our 2025 OCC champion, Mr. Jim Walmsley. Jim, good to see you, buddy. Thank you for coming in. Can't wait to chat.
Glad to join the marathon of day 8.
Yeah, day 8. And we just recorded Jim's champions interview for OCC, so go check that out separately here in the podcast feed or on the YouTube channel. Also back in studio, an absolute viral sensation after our UTMB preview, Sally McRae back.
What is up?
It's good to be back. Holy smokes, what a couple of days it has been here. Before we launch into it, a couple bits of housekeeping. Thank you to the team behind the scenes. Ryan Thrower is at the finish line right now, clipping bangers. Thank you to Ryan, Brett Jorgensen, producing in Ryan's place. Of course, Harmony Bowman in studio also. And a big thank you to Hoka for supporting our coverage throughout the week. It has been amazing. It has taken a massive effort, and we super appreciate their support. Go check out that Mafate 5 at Hoka.com. Tons of those out on the TMB over the last couple of days. This is our second to last show, our instant recap. And then tomorrow, Sunday, is our final wrap-up show, which we'll do sometime tomorrow afternoon. The women are finishing now as we speak. The top, probably 40 or 50 men are in. So we're going to be doing some live updates on the women's race. We're also going to recap the full UTMB, and, we'll have sort of some live thoughts and reactions as the results start pouring in. Jumping into it, let's start with UTMB, because we only have 30 minutes of Jim's time here before he has to go to a rager, as I understand it here. Well-deserved rager. I think the best place to start with UTMB is the weather and the conditions. I think, we've all lined up at this race. It's intimidating as it is. It literally, at the start line, we had this amazing spot watching the athlete procession as everybody was getting introduced. It's a high drama situation, as we all know. And literally right as the runners leave, it starts raining in Chamonix. Whoever watched the live broadcast saw that the pro athletes started putting their jackets on almost immediately. I want to toss it to you first here, Jim. Yeah. What were your thoughts and feelings about the weather? Because it felt fairly ominous in town here.
Yeah, I think the announcers called out that Ludo went to the start in his rain jacket, and he knows something's coming. And yeah, definitely, at least staying here in Chamonix most of the night. We had a lot of weather last night. It seemed pretty hard. I heard the snow was really bad. There were course changes really similar to 2017. But yeah, I think at least half the times that I've lined up since 2017, which this is the second UTMB I've missed since then, or third year, including COVID. So I've hit most of them. Maybe half, it's definitely got some sort of mist and rain, and it's a weird thing because it's not necessarily cold yet. And jacket or no jacket, and I think you saw a lot of athletes in the first 10th or 5th of the race contemplating jacket, no jacket, jacket, no jacket. But then once you get into the night, you go over Col de la Cygne, you get into what would be Pyramide Calcaire, and then dropping into Italy up, and then approaching Grand Col Ferret, you definitely go for the winter options. You got to take care of yourself in the night. And I think even this year, though, you saw people really getting suffered and lots of hard, cold weather through the night.
Did you see the video of the lead man going over the top of Col de Bono?
It was just complete snow.
Yeah, it was on the I Run Far Twitter feed. Yeah. People need to go check it out. I retweeted it, so you can find it there if you can't.
So many in shorts too, and I was like,
yeah.
So you could probably speak better to that because you live here. Yeah. But I think that was one of the biggest learning curves for me when I first came here. I did the 5 times I did UTMB. You're right, weather all over the place. But I feel like what I learned from the Europeans was how to take care of yourself and wear layers properly. But still, have always been so amazed. They'll be good up top, and then shorts are like whatever. Yeah. I'm not putting on pants. I have a good jacket.
I personally just own that I'm from Phoenix and I'm from the desert in this scenario. And I always keep my waterproof pants in a the top. I don't put it in the plastic bag. I don't zip it up. And basically I have it in one zip, whip out, put them on super quick, and they have their own zips. So it takes 5 to 10 seconds to put those pants on. And I notice when I cover up my knees during a cold night like this, my legs stay a lot better.
You know, Nathaniel Freeman, who's in studio here, was talking about a lotion that should be applied on athletes' legs that is apparently very popular in cycling that hasn't yet made its way.
Well, does it
into trail.
Vaseline?
But this is actually a great place to start, okay? Because we just saw Ruth Croft finish and win. Spoiler alert. We're going to talk all about how things played out. But one of the comments she made at the finish line was, I knew I needed to be more aggressive from the start this year. One of the things we've been talking about throughout the week is Ruth ran an incredible race last year, but she just was too far behind Katie to really reel her all the way back in at the end when she was charging. So Ruth making the conscious decision, I need to be a little bit more aggressive this year. But then she also said, then the weather came, and I made the decision, I just need to survive the night. And at the top of the Col de Bonhomme, the I Run Far photo of Ruth, she was wearing her waterproof pants. And that was the first time that Courtney got a gap on Ruth. So for me, as I was looking at this coverage, it was like, okay, Courtney got this gap because Ruth stopped to put her waterproof pants on the climb up to Col de Bonhomme. And maybe this would be great for you to talk about, Jim, because that is an internal dialogue, and there is an internal calculus that happens of losing time versus staying warm, and it's not always super straightforward.
Yeah. One thing I noticed was Courtney was one of the only people early rain, didn't put a rain jacket on, just kept running through it. Yeah. Just smiling, bubbly, but you could see Ruth put her jacket, she took her pack off, put her jacket on, pack back on, and like, I don't like my jacket that way, but she chose to do that. But I definitely approved of putting on the jacket. Most people put on jackets. But yeah, there's a time cost. I think it's worth putting stuff on, but I think you can also mitigate cost of how long it takes by predicting that and organizing your pack so that it's easy access and easy to store away. Yeah. And please, everyone, this is actually a PSA of please tuck your jackets all the way in your packs. Everyone, so many people have just a sleeve hanging out.
Sleeve was just flapping around for hours.
Ben D-Man is guilty of this, and Ruth Croft for sure. Both are guilty this race.
Tuck that damn sleeve in.
Is this like when people leave their blinker on their car? It just drives you crazy. You see it, and you're like, tuck it in.
Didn't affect either of them in any way this year.
All right, so before we go back into the dynamic of the race, Jim, I'd love to hear from you. Francois, who's a good friend of yours, posted a bunch of stuff before the race, including a photo of it. Looked like you guys just sort of like hanging out in the couple hours before the race. Obviously, things didn't go his way, but would love your just any comments on Francois specifically, or any other athletes who are in the field over the last couple of days who you interacted with that our audience might find interesting.
Yeah. So really good friends with Francois. He's kind of had some red flags pop up race week after an extremely good, successful training block, and you could see he was motivated, fit, and Saturday before the race, almost one full week, I mean, I went on a run with him and walked away going like, Francois is going to win. Yeah. And
dude, remember back at Black Cannon, you said to me, dude, Francois is back. He's having the best skimo season.
His skimo season was really, really good, but I think personally I was a little disappointed with maybe how much of a block he put in before Nolan's. I think he should have done a little more, but he's a beast, and never underestimate him, and he still pulls it off. Yeah. And Europeans coming to Colorado to run well at altitude still blows my mind. I'm not confident with that adjustment, but you see Kylian Xavier, Ludo now, 2-time Hard Rock finisher, Katie coming across, like all sorts of success. I mean, the French or Europeans swept the podium at Hard Rock, both men and women this year. Like, it is their race. It is a European style race in the U.S. That's pretty special. But I got to share a lot of time before the race with Hoka athletes, and then also probably marking a lot of the Western States double people. So you have Jeff Magavero going for it, but Rod Farvard kind of in the mix, trying to tell him, like, well, one of my best UTMBs, energy-wise, was actually 2017 when I didn't finish Western States. I was still like pretty much in the fight at UTMB. So like I think you're still in a really good spot. Like, stay motivated, and his training seems really good. Duji. I struggle saying his name, sorry. But gotten to know him through camp, but he doesn't speak much English and stuff. But I always like try to sit next to him at like breakfast tables and stuff. And there's generally a translator. And I love seeing home pictures of him, and because he's from like the super high Himalaya in China.
Wow.
Way west. But really beautiful place. Really cool to see. I think the highest Chinese finisher, at least on the men's side, with a 4th place there. Thibaut Gravier was absolutely smashing training 5 weeks ago at camp, and he's balancing full-time job being a radiologist, so super impressive. Dad now, new dad. I think Ben's a new dad, Tom's a new dad. Yeah, lots of dad power out there.
We're going to get to the dad storyline.
Hayden's really leaning into this lately, and they're harnessing something special.
Except for me. Okay. All right, so I guess let's start with the men. So, I think this was just a really interesting race, and we'll get to the results and how it played out. But Tom Evans, our champion this year, and to me, it felt like a fairly easy win. And one of the things he said at the finish line that I'd love to get both of your guys' perspective on, because I think it's, whenever Tom has a way of saying things that have a kernel of profound truth in them. And what he said was, if you try too hard to win, it's difficult. And he had referenced experience that he had where he had just tried too hard to win, and he sort of allowed this race to come to him in a more organic way. And I thought this might be a really fun prompt for the conversation here today of, I'm sure there's examples in both of your careers where, you didn't allow something to come to you and instead tried to force your will on it. I mean, there's great examples from your career. I'm sure, Sally, you can identify something similarly. But I don't know, opening prompt here. Any comments on the idea of trying too hard to win?
I mean, I love that you opened with Tom because I think he's so inspiring. And now that it's like hot off the press that he won, I think looking back also on the interview that he had, I think that kind of ties into his interview when he was just talking about how it all looks different, approaching it differently. And I think there's a lot of truth to letting go, going into things with open hands, realizing that, no outcome is guaranteed, right? But there's a lot of power in not only enjoying the process, in valuing what you can do step by step, which I think, anytime Tom was on the live stream or going into an aid station, he was like a showman. Yeah. You could tell that he was embracing the journey. And I think it's that idea of, instead of being so obsessed with that finish line result, what happens when we really enjoy the moment that we're in, realizing that when he was in the moment in every aid station, he's feeding off the crowd. Mm-hmm. He's appreciating the people that are cheering for him, the people that are supporting it. I mean, the one aid station that really struck out to me was when he was in Triant, and he came in there just like full-blown champ, and he's talking to his crew chief, and he's like, no, I need to go. He says it twice to him. He's like very focused, exactly what it is he wants to do. And then he turns around back to the table and he grabs a piece of gear that he really needed. I think it was his hat. And he's taking in everything that's going on around him, so much so that as he runs by this trough of water, he takes his hat off, he dips it in the water, he puts it back on, and then he sees his wife and his sweet little baby girl, stops and gives them, a hug and a kiss. And it's like he's able to blend this ultra focused, discipline to what he's doing at that moment, but also be in such the moment of where he is. Yeah. And I think that, that statement kind of embodies that. It's, instead of being so obsessed with like win, it's I'm going to fall in love with what I'm doing and this moment that I have, because we don't get it back. Every race experience is so unique, just to our everyday life, to our everyday training. And I'll tell you what, Tom was such a joy to watch. watch the entire day. His love and appreciation for the sport, but really, and I know we're going to talk about it later, but man, I am really loving the celebration of dads. I'm really loving the family side of ultras. For so long, family hasn't really been highlighted, and I think it needs to. Men and women together are so strong and powerful when we celebrate each other. And I think that seeing Tom with his two girls, I mean, they were there to celebrate Tom. They were there for his race. And I just think it's so beautiful. So, yeah, I'm on a high from Tom's race. Really excited about that. But I think him saying that is something that whether you're back of the pack or you're front of the pack, we can all apply that, because then it allows us to have grace in ourselves and do the best with what we can as we journey to the finish line.
Jim, what would you add here? Because I think there's definitely examples from your career where you tried to force your will, and then it was maybe later when you allowed it to come a little bit more organically when you finally had your breakthroughs.
Yeah, and then I'll actually offer a counter example of a story from this year, though. But so first off, for sure, I think Tom's onto it. I think for me, the best has been actually to find the ability to release the overwhelming desire to have to win. You basically you unlock well, it doesn't matter. We might as well just try our hardest. And then all of a sudden this gets you going, and it's the right mentality. You're not going to give up. You're tougher. So for me, for sure, it's tried to force my will on Western States coming back in 2017, but 2018, I was broken guy trying to chase the last 2 years at Western States splits and trying to smash the race and put my will on the course, and just went that, well, I'm just going to take what the course gives me today and we'll see where it goes. And it's the best legs I've ever had in my life was 2018. And I apologize to Francois Dane all the time of you caught me on a rough day and, or a good day for me, because I could have ran another 50K.
For the audience, Francois finished second that day, but an hour and a half behind.
A little bit of a big split there, I think. But opposite though, however, I think Ruth Croft from last year getting second place, from what I've heard, she absolutely doubled down on double focus, double carrying, double everything, double weights. I mean, she had huge vests running uphill. Then the next day you see huge vests running downhill, only downhill stuff. And it seemed like she actually doubled down on obsessing about the race. So there's no perfect way to solve it. But sometimes when you are a bit stuck, I think it is great to find a way to peel it back, take the pressure off. And also I think the French in general culturally are amazing at sidestepping pressure on them. And that's another idea of even just Tom saying, life's a lot more about being the best dad I can be, being the best husband I can be. But it is a way of dealing with pressure and sidestepping, well, there's a lot of pressure for me to go to work and get the paycheck, and I feel pressure in my career to win UTMB, because I think me being now separating me as a athlete and just a fan of the sport, I think me as a fan of the sport sees Tom's career of he needed a win at UTMB to balance it, and it's even just in the hours that we've had since both of them finishing, it's super, super cool to have two more Western States UTMB double champs, because in my opinion, these two races have open competition. They have the best competition. They're different styles. They're in different continents. And to balance both is a complete ultra runner. And I really love having, I don't think you can get higher class than Ruth and Tom joining this club of double winners at Western States and UTMB with other legends of the sport.
It's so well said, and I think it brings up an interesting point and a good example of sort of what makes you special too, Jim, and that Ruth has won Golden Trail race events. She's won OCC, CCC, and UTMB, and she's won Western States. Tom Evans is a national class, international class cross-country runner. He's run a super fast half marathon. He's good in the mountains. He's good on the flats. All of you guys have this total toolkit of being very well-rounded athletes. But I think it originates from you guys having this champion's mindset. And I do think you're touching on something important with Ruth too, and her being really focused on this race. But also she didn't force her will on it, right? She had the consciousness of going up over the Col de Bonhomme thinking, oh no, this isn't a race I can force my will. I need to stop and put my rain pants on. And then 100K later, we see her make the critical pass on Courtney to take the lead in the race.
I'd really like to hear more about Camille Bruya's preparation and how things. I haven't heard as much about her preparations, but she's had an absolute smashing day in second, and I think is going to walk away super stoked. So also to see her approach to this year's race, because Ruth at least 2 tries at UTMB. And then Camille's had several tries, and I think she had just a very, very successful race this year at UTMB.
Sally, share a few words on Ruth specifically, too. I don't know how well you guys know each other, but I know you pay attention to this stuff. To me, this rounds out, like, one of the great sporting careers of any female athlete, right? I don't know. I mean, to me, like I just said, OCC, CCC, UTMB, and Western States, nobody's got that. Nobody's got that until you get CCC. But nobody's got that quadfecta. Meanwhile, you know, she's won Speed Goat, she's won Templier, she's won Tarawera a bunch of times.
Someone that didn't race this year, whoever just showed extreme versatility was Katie Scheid getting third at Sierra Zanal. There's a few, but it's definitely a flex to be able to show the range like this, what Tom and Ruth have both shown. Yeah. But Katie, I would say, has to have a shout in this, because just recently was Sierra Zanal and had an absolute smashing descent to go from 5th to 3rd in the final descent. So I think that one also deserves a shout.
Of course.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think I've just been a fan of Ruth from day one. I remember years back, you might recall this as well, when she decided to go into a whole season where her focus, and I think she's one of the most focused, very calculated athletes. She's like you, Jim, she's amazing on all terrain, so fast. She took a season, I can't remember what year it was, where she only focused on speed. Do you remember this? And she was doing like cross country races, road marathons. And I want to say it was maybe like in 16 or 17. And I remember being really inspired by that, because I was like, why would you do that? She's so good, long distance, in the mountains, uphill. But she decided to put herself into a situation where she knew she needed to improve. And I think that is just the wisdom and brilliance of Ruth, because obviously she's also watching what was happening in her sport at that time. And I think around 16, 17 is when we really then started to see more of these all-terrain athletes come in, and we're like, uh-oh, the times are all getting faster. Course records are breaking. We're seeing faster people, whether they're coming off the road or, you know, coming from track backgrounds, coming to the sport. And I just think Ruth is a very wise and discerning athlete, not afraid to take risks, not afraid to use an entire season I'm just going to do something that's hard. And so, I love that you shared her training about the weight vest and very specific things that she was doing. I think more and more, especially here at UTMB, you do need specific training to be successful here. And she has always exemplified that.
I think another interesting story. So I think Ruth is the bar right now for completing the triple, Western States, UTMB sort of thing. But also trying to share the love amongst some of the top 10 of stuff. Of something else, a story that's really stood out is Ben Deman actually not coming from a running background and him finding ultra, but actually stepping down, especially in the winter. I think he broke 30 minutes for 10K, I want to say, or at least 30 minutes.
Yeah, he broke 30.
And so going down and running, it's pretty sweet. And I think he, coming into the sport, sees the versatility and the power that can have. So he's super harnessing it, and really cool to see him have vengeance on 2 DNFs, like absolutely rock through the night of withstanding everything and persevere with a second place. I think it's a massive success, and he's just having a great year. And to come back from Lavaredo's course record stuff and come here, like, He's on fire.
An absolute stud. And I want to come back to Ben here in just a second. But sticking with Ruth for just one more minute, did you guys see the death blow on the live stream? Because I thought it was a really powerful moment, a memorable moment from the 2025 UTMB. She caught up to Courtney on the road section in between La Folie and Pras de Fort before the climb up to Champex-Lac. Meanwhile, Camille Bruyas was just behind. They were all separated by like 45 seconds. Yeah. Ruth had her poles out, running downhill on a road with her poles, and looked really smooth. And I think this was the moment, especially with her comment at the finish line of just survive the night and then battle when the sun comes up. She survived the night, had more energy clearly than Courtney. We're not sure what happened to Courtney yet. So obviously tons of respect for everything she's accomplished and for the will to continue fighting here today, even when things spiraled. But to me, that was a really important moment of UTMB 2025. And really it was like, you know, we rarely get to see the visuals of these lead exchanges happening. And it was so clear in that moment that, you know, and we've been talking about it this week of like, you know, Ruth was destined to win this race eventually. And with that commitment and with that focus, intentionally not taking golden tickets, intentionally not coming back to get M1 bibs at Western States, taking a 2-year journey at UTMB, just like you, Jim, and it paid off. And like, those are the types of athletes that I think are, again, what separates good from great, right? Is like, you focus, you know what you want and you go after it, no matter what it takes for a little while, and you execute surgically, and it happens. And look, now Ruth adds another just ridiculous accomplishment to her Hall of Fame career. Any comments from that specific moment, like, or Ruth's race execution before we go deeper in the results?
I like the call out on the pulls downhill because it stood out a bit funny, but really effective. You could see it. She had a lot more momentum. And then, kind of going back to my OCC of like, what do you do when you pass someone sort of thing of, they had their exchange, and Courtney was super gracious of realizing kind of not having the best legs to fight the way she probably wanted to fight in the moment. But you see the humbleness and graciousness of Courtney acknowledging Ruth's stay, I think, at that moment. But both of them, I think, unaware of Camille probably being able to see the pass from afar, but us on the live feed could see it all going down.
Yeah. Okay, so one other thing I want to mention about Tom, our men's champion, before we go a little bit deeper, because I think this is also something that a lot of you guys have in common. He was 3rd place in 2022. He passed you on the final climb up to the Flagere, and then back-to-back DNFs. He was 4th at CCC before he won. He was 3rd at Western States before he won. Ruth was 2nd at Western States before she won, 2nd at UTMB before she won. You, Jim, of course, there's great stories of you having to learn a little bit before you finally have the breakthrough. And again, I think this is just, while we have, you know, the opportunity to talk about this stuff, is like, that's what celebrates the good athletes from the great. Is like, you know, you learn, you come back, you learn, you come back, and eventually you have your breakthrough. So I just thought that was an interesting parallel between a lot of the experiences of the top athletes. Any further comments on Tom before we go back to Ben?
I think both Ruth and Tom have cemented their elevated status in the sport of being remembered for great champions and combining the Western States UTMB thing. I know it's just huge personal goals for me, so I'm super biased on these 2 races, but for them to do it, I just want to say chapeau, and it's amazing. I
agree with you. I think even brands, they put a lot of weight. The brands with their teams and their athletes, Western States, UTMB, that's where they want them racing. We see UTMB as pretty much like the Olympics of our sport. Yeah. And I agree. It's like winning a Super Bowl. It's like getting the NBA ring. They will be remembered forever. These will be the core stars in their career when they look back and they remember their career. I mean, being a UTMB or Western States champion, that's like, I remember when you know, you're a kid and you have like some Olympian that goes and speaks to your school, you know. It's all you have to say is this guy's an Olympian. Everyone's like, whoa. And I feel it's the same thing in our sport. If you're a Western States champion, it's like immediate respect and just like, you're amazing. UTMB champion, regardless of whatever CCC, OCC, but it's like, you're amazing. You're a legit, incredible athlete. Will be remembered forever.
Another nod to the organization, though, of just you win one UTMB, they cement you as a legend in their race, and I think that's a great way to honor and even elevate UTMB as the race. We want a full loop around the Mont Blanc, but both Ruth and Tom becoming legends of UTMB and will be celebrated in its history that way.
Well said. Okay, so Tom finished in a time of 19:18:58. Ruth was 22:56:23. Of course, this was an adjusted course, so difficult to compare apples to oranges, but incredible some of the best performances we've ever seen here at UTMB for both. Coming back to Ben here, I have such a hard time not rooting for this guy. I'm like just become such a big fan of him. He's taken such a non-traditional route, and he does have a wildly different skill set, similar to you, Jim. And I went back and looked at his like original results. His first race, he placed 100th at the Rut in 2014. And he's like used to be this long course trail walker, or like this long trail through hiker, right? He told me a story on my podcast recently about how he lived at the Kalalau beach at the end of the Nepali coast for like months in his 20s, just dirt bagging it. Now he's this crazy high performance athlete, an American living in France. He's been also projecting this race for 3 years. Even though I think he would probably say it wasn't a perfect day, he got second place at UTMB, a huge breakthrough for Ben. Just a fantastic story. Any further comments on him?
Well, I think we give him an A+ for this year, and there's room to improve, but at the same time, it's not much room, and I think he needs to be proud of this year. And he can build and bring this forward, whether it's another UTMB or races forward. He'll be stronger for this. Yeah, it's a big breakthrough.
One of my favorite things about this sport, though, is the number of high-level athletes that didn't have a background in running. And I know we'll be talking about the women later, especially on the CCC side, but we have, Olympian long jumpers to professional ballerinas. I mean, it really is wild to see the history and just the diversity in sports that people bring into ultra running. And maybe there's some positives in that because they haven't run themselves into the ground from the time of their youth. And so it plays well. But I think that's another reason just to love the community of our sport is everyone can come and try it. You don't have to have this professional coaching in order to do well here. And Ben obviously, encompasses that really well.
Yeah, so such a fun athlete to follow. So second place in the women's race was Cami Bruyas, her second place here, 23, 28, 48. So was, I think in 2021, second behind Courtney here. She was second at Hard Rock last year, second again.
I think the biggest difference, though, is it's another breakthrough because I think she was really in the fight. Yeah. She definitely took a big step forward and was truly in the fight. She had an opportunity to win it, and that's a different race strategy than just I think the first second place she had at UTMB, I think there was quite a big gap in kind of maybe like Ruth's disappointment last year of never really being in the fight. Kemi really stepped up and was in the fight this year. Yeah, absolutely. So it was 36 minutes separating Ruth Croft and Kemi Bruyas, 33 minutes between Tom Evans and Ben Demon. Jim, I know you need to go here, so feel free to jump up whenever you need to. We're gonna have you sign. We're gonna have you sign the OCC poster behind me on your way out. So make sure you just do that. And then I think one thing in general, my takeaway from this year that I want to point out before I do go, please. The density, I think, took another elevation this year. Yeah. It was one of my takeaways from OCC immediately on Thursday, kind of cracking things open. Of in the race, at times I thought I had a gap, but then in reality, when I saw results and saw things from perspective, everybody was boom, 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 right behind me. I had no room to run worse. Or otherwise, I was getting beat. I was going to have 5 more guys run past me. Then you also see CCC, similar battle right down to the end, descending La Flégère. You see results. Just, again, the density and the closeness is getting super, super close. The fights in UTMB aren't breaking up till super late. I think we had an extreme. I mean, I guess it's one of my first times like having an early race experience and getting to partake in a lot more and observe more the fight of CCC and stuff. But really just walking away, super impressed with the density of all 3 races and how much of a fight it is all the way through 1 through 10. And I think as a sport, we also need to further grow and appreciate and elevate top 10 here. Top 10 OCC, top 10 CCC, top 10 UTMB. Those are who gets called on stage at the end. And I think we need to look at that as a bigger podium. And I think elevating 10 instead of 3 or 1 will only make the sport better. I think we need to be good at rooting for the 7th, the 9th place guys. women just as much as the first. And it's great to root for people that just try and put everything out there, and you see them suffering out there and suffering beautifully, and maybe have their best day, not their best day. It doesn't matter. They're in the fight and they show up again next year. And we love seeing all of this. I love competing against them, and it's best when we're all healthy doing it, and it makes the sport super, super special.
Hear, hear.
Yes. What a class
I gotta
act.
say, as a former 7th place guy, it feels really good to hear that from a multiple time champion here at the UTMB World Finals.
I couldn't agree more, because these races are where you're gonna get the most competition. So I'm following the women's UTMB, and it's like, you're seeing like Heather Jackson in 18th place. It's like anywhere else her running like that, she's winning most of the races, right? And so I love that you're highlighting that. I think to be in the top 20 of any of these races means like, wow, you're like a stout, really good athlete. And I agree, the celebration of the top 10, to be top 10 here is a dream come true. And I see the brands celebrating that. Like the teams, like the brand teams are so excited if their athlete is getting in the top 10.
I mean, if you go on live.utmb.world and scroll back to the 20th and 30th and 40th positions, you're going to see a lot of names that you recognize.
Yes.
And then just how much the sport's growing globally, of the number of names you don't recognize. But if you dig into it and you realize where they're from and where they're racing at home, they are studs. And they were ready, and they threw down, and it's just super incredible. And it takes a lot of preparation, a lot of execution to pull off a top 10. So congrats to everyone. Also want to shout out, because I didn't get to talk about CCC, but David Sinclair, I thought, absolutely crushed it.
Amazing.
Because he's had some absolute killer course records in the last year or two. But truly against good, like world-class best competition, and CCC held it together, ran super well. And then I missed the other one that I was thinking of, but shout out to David Sinclair for his second place at CCC. I was super, super impressed.
All right, awesome.
So thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
What
Amazing.
a class act. Go sign the OCC poster before you go. Say what's up to the Beaufort boys tonight. I understand there's going to be a little bit of a party here, and we'll see you at the Hoka party after that, Jim. Can't wait. All right, we're already going long-winded, so I'm going to propose a adjustment to our itinerary here. Let's go through the UTMB results as they stand now. We'll save CCC maybe for tomorrow's show. Does that sound good to everybody in studio? Okay. Because we still have a decent amount to talk about at UTMB, and we want to give CCC plenty of airtime to go through all those amazing performances. I mean, the women's race at CCC last night was probably the race of the weekend. That alone requires
incredible.
its own
that
show.
Finish between Sylvia and Martina was insane.
Unbelievable. So again, this is our instant reaction show, so bear with us as we make on-the-fly adjustments here to our programming. So I've got the men's top 10 up. I'm just going to read through it here, Sally, and then we can go a little bit deeper on it, because there's definitely a few more great stories. So we've talked about Tom Evans, our men's champion here, Ben Demon in second place. Ben Demon's time was 19:51.37. Third place from Great Britain, Josh Wade, a huge breakthrough, 20 hours, 5 minutes, 6 seconds. Sally, we will notice immediately 2 athletes from Great Britain in the top 3. Amazing. Could it have something to do with the biblical weather that we experienced last night? To me, it felt like a race for people who are experienced with those types of conditions and who can manage those types of conditions. Both Tom and Josh Wade did so admirably.
That's the first time in history that we've seen even winning too.
Well, so
have we ever had a Great Britain?
Lizzie Hawker won 5 times. The winningest, the men's side, only Jez Bragg did it on a weather-shortened year in 2010, but that was a weather-affected year. So on the weather-affected year,
this
Team
is
GB.
So the rain was in their favor.
Yes.
But I'm also just thinking, this race, which I love about it, over 120 countries are represented. More and more the fields are getting deeper. And it's pretty fun to watch. So 4th place in the men's race, Duo Ji from China. I believe the highest placing Chinese athlete ever on the men's side of UTMB. So big shout out to Duo Ji. This is part of, the continued internationalization of the races. And we have talked about throughout the week, Joylene Chepneno becoming the first
Kenyan athlete to win here in a UTMB World Final. So Duoji finishing in 20 hours, 15 minutes, 5 seconds. I'm assuming you don't know much about him, but he doubled back from Western States. Maybe you guys could check where Duoji finished at Western States earlier this summer. But
we had a handful of people doubling.
Yep. And most did not do so very well. Jeff McGavro dropped out. Chris Myers dropped out. Fujia Zhang, who was second place at Western States, was, I think, 15th in CCC. So it's always a narrative around UTMB. Who's doubling back? Are they going to be able to do it? Emily Hoggood's another example. I think she's still slogging it out at UTMB after a 10th place at Western States. And she's been the example of somebody who's been able to do it well over the last couple of years. But this year felt like a year where most people couldn't really double back. And maybe we could talk about the increased need for focus, because both Tom and Ruth built their whole seasons around it.
Absolutely.
And it showed up in the results.
I think that'll be a good discussion, because as the sport is changing, you know, when you and I first started racing, we did have a lot of discussions about, I'm just going to be patient because you never know what's going to happen up front. There were times that worked. There were times where you could just kind of feel out the field and feel out the course. But now it's like, now you got to go in with a very executed, calculated plan, and you need to race from the gun, which is... You know, I actually ran into Drew Holman right before I came here, and I was like, "How you doing?" He's like, "My whole body hurts. Like this sport hurts." He literally said, he's like, "It's getting faster and faster, more competitive." And I think just even to our viewers, especially those that maybe aren't into ultras yet, it does sound crazy when you break down how much they're climbing, how far they're going. And if we were to do the calculation and like transfer all that to just like running on flat, it's mind boggling. It's hard to understand, but we're doing it.
Yeah. So, and I think this will be more and more, like, not only does it need focus, but it might require sacrifice, right? You might need to not do other races and events. You might need to have the willpower, the discipline, and the restraint to not take an invite to some other international race, to maybe forego a golden ticket or something like that at a race that you're really motivated to do. If you want to win UTMB, you kind of have to focus on it 12 months out of the year. And that's what both Tom and Ruth did. And it worked out. And I think that
greatness takes patience.
Yes,
it does. You have to be patient to build. And I love that you're highlighting that, because Ruth and Tom, and I think it was in the chat, they were talking about how I think they both work with the same coach.
Yeah. We're going to talk more about that too. So, okay. So 5th place, Thibaut Garivier, great Frenchman. I think this is 3rd or 4th top 10 here at UTMB, 20 hours, 20 minutes. 6th place, Ludovic Pomeray. I'm wearing your t-shirt again, bro. His 5th top 6 finish here at UTMB. Of course, the 2016 champion, the 2-time Hard Rock champion, the Diagonal Day Food champion. We've talked about him enough throughout the week, but he brings home another very well executed 6th place. And he's going to Diagonal Day Food in October, where I'm sure he'll put together another fantastic 100-miler. He was 20 hours, 40 minutes. 7th place, another Frenchman, Yannick Noel, 20 hours, 3 minutes. I don't know anything about him. Do you?
I don't. I remember I had said in the preview show, UTMB is my favorite place to watch the dark horses. People that just come out and just have an incredible day. Yeah. So it looked like Yannick Noel had a great opportunity to have a breakthrough here at the world's biggest stage. As Jim said, a 7th place here is truly a world-class performance. So shout out to Yannick. We'll look him up and give him a follow here as we continue to follow his career. 8th place, Shen Jishen, a 2nd place finisher in CCC. He's been top 10 at Western States a couple of times now. Finally gets a top 10 at UTMB. Another Chinese athlete, 21 hours, 11 minutes. Our boy Rod Farvard in 9th, 21 hours, 18 minutes. Was never really in the mix. He was outside the top 10 for most of the day. It wasn't until, I think, Trient till he got into the top 10, but Steady Eddie. Today is his 30th birthday. Happy birthday, Rod. Happy birthday, Rod. 9th place. What an incredible gift. He'll remember this 30th, this birthday for a long time. Yeah. I'm sure Rod wanted to do better here today. Previously, he's been, I think, 23rd and 17th. So
progress is progress. You got to celebrate it. Rod is nothing but not persistent. So wouldn't be surprised to see his name back on the
getting
start
in the
list.
top 10 is massive.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm glad that Jim pointed that out. But, you know, going from somewhere in the 20s into the top 10, I mean, that's a lot of progress. I hope he can celebrate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so so in 10th place was Zhao Zhaizhu, another great Chinese athlete, sort of similar to Rod, was kind of outside the top 10, and then, you know, waited for people to make mistakes, you know, bided his time and energy appropriately to kind of run through the field late to secure a top 10 for Zhao Zhaizhu. And very interestingly now, only 4, let me see here, I wrote it down. I think it was, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 countries represented in the top 10. Only Great Britain, the US, China, and France.
Interesting.
China and France each had 3 athletes in the top 10, US and GB each with 2. Kind of interesting. Usually we see more flags there in the top 10.
You showed that chart during our preview show. Does that match?
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know,
good question.
representing those countries.
Yeah.
But,
the French team was the strongest, I think, followed by the U.S. and China was, I think, in 3rd or 4th. So more or less, I think it does. And yeah, and I think Great Britain was in that mix too, because Jonathan Albon was one of the highest ranked athletes. He was one of our notable drops.
That is who I picked to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, we should spend a minute on the notable DNFs, but first let's touch on the women here. And we do have a lot of runners who have just finished. So I'm pulling this up in real time. So we've talked about Ruth Croft, our champion, 22 hours, 56 minutes. Camille Bruyas, 23 hours, 28 minutes. In 3rd place from Germany, Katharina Hartmuth brings home another podium here, 24 hours, 16 minutes. One thing I realized, all 3 of our women's podium, our top 3, this is their 2nd podium at UTMB. So one of the things I was thinking about with the bad weather is like, well, maybe this plays into the hands of people who have experience.
Absolutely.
But it's so cool to see, you know, the top 3 are all previous podium finishers here at UTMB.
I think experience is massive on this course, especially when the weather gets bad.
Katharina Hartmuth is an absolute legend of long course too. 2-time on the podium of Hard Rock, now 2-time on the podium of UTMB. She's been on the podium of the long course World Championships. She's won Tour de France. She's only 30 years old.
Incredible.
Katharina Hartmuth, super strong athlete from Germany, and she's just getting started even with 2 podium finishes here on the world's biggest stage. Let's see. In 4th place, Anna Karlsson from Sweden, 24 hours, 39 minutes. Don't know anything about Anna, but another ASICS athlete. ASICS crushed it here this week. In 5th place, Maëlle Duraz, our second French finisher in the women's side, behind Camille Bruyas, 24 hours, 43 minutes. Again, don't know anything about Maëlle. In 6th place, Magali Mellin, also French, 24:48. Do you know anything about her?
I don't.
Yeah.
This is
a lot of new
amazing.
names.
Yeah.
Somebody I know you know about. In 7th place, the Australian, Lucy Bartholomew.
Lucy, who I deeply regret not bringing up in our preview show. You cannot
There's so
count
many names.
Lucy out. She has been in this sport for so long.
Yeah.
She loves the sport. She works so hard. You know, she decided to jump into Ironman too. She's shown her versatility across all distances. You know, you'll see her racing on the road sometimes. She'll hop into 50Ks all the time. And then she's had some good finishes here in the past, whether I know she did TDS.
This is
did very
her 3rd
well.
top 10 at UTMB in a row.
Yeah.
10th, 10th, 7th.
And Lucy, I love you, and I regret that I did not talk about you in the preview show. You deserved more. And she put on an incredible performance today. I think she finished with bloody knees, and she's a very gritty athlete. I love seeing her name in the top 10. Well deserved.
Yeah, I'll be interested to hear more about how it played out for her, because she was in the mix for a podium spot and then started to fade a little late. But as you said, we'd heard reports that she had fallen, she'd hurt her knee, she's kind of limping, she's puking, but it's tough as nails.
She is.
Super experienced, you know, still young,
I know.
you know, by the calendar.
But has been in it for like 15 years.
So experienced. Now her 3rd top 10 at UTMB. So shout out to Lucy Bartholomew. In 8th place, the American Lauren Puretz, a mom from Colorado. lives a normal life, doesn't have big sponsors. She was the Masters world champion last year. So she's a Masters athlete, 24 hours, 54 minutes in her first UTMB.
That's
a
incredible.
Great performance for Lauren.
That time would have won many, many years. We'll talk about this later about the dropping times, which have been shown more significantly on the women's side than the men's side. But man, so many names that we did not expect to see in the top 10.
Yeah.
I love it.
So then in 9th place, Claudia Treps from Spain, 25 hours, 5 minutes, a very, very good runner. Was sort of like in that top 10 mix all day and brought home a proud 9th place. And now we are waiting for the 10th place runner to come in.
Okay.
Do you know who that might be?
That might be...
It is a certain 3-time champion.
Gosh, it could be... Her name rhymes with Bortney. You know what? I am so... very, very proud of Courtney.
Me too. This might be the perfect way to close.
She could have very easily said, you know what? Because we don't really get rewarded for persevering, for showing courage by the UTMB point standard. She could have been like, I don't want that on my list. But she is showing the heart of the sport. It's about endurance and perseverance. Courage is going anyway, even when things aren't going your way. And you know what? To see Courtney in the live feed, especially when to me, it looked like she was hurting for a while. And she's hugging these little kids. There's little girls running after her. She's high-fiving people. She's smiling into people's faces, and then you see her sit down in the aid station and you're like, she's uncomfortable. Yeah. But she's coming out, and what a class act. What a joy. I think she has done, she has just been classy all day without us even knowing anything that's going on. And I'm really excited to hear her story, but I think what she's doing now, I heard this in another interview, and I really agree with it, but she's being the most relatable than she's ever been. Yeah. Because for most of us, it's we actually relate to each other more in our struggles than when we stand at the top of a podium. And I think this is another beautiful part of Courtney's story. Very, very well said. And just to echo this, we saw Ruth make the pass, and it was kind of clear in that moment, okay, Ruth has this under control. I wish they would both have been mic'd up. I wish I could have heard, but Ruth I mean, in that moment, and Courtney, of course, cheers her on like the amazing champion and human being that she is. And I think in that moment, most people could tell, okay, this is not going to be the Courtney Dauwalter performance that we've all been spoiled with for the last many years. And she came through Champex-Lac, still sort of with Camille Bruyas, not that far off of Ruth, maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes. By the next aid station at Triant, Ruth's way out front. Camille's got the gap on Courtney, and we see Courtney walking down the hill into Triant. She picks up somebody's kid, plays with them, whatever. It's like basically jogging it past the pink church into Triant. And I think a lot of people watching that were probably figuring, okay, this is probably where she's going to call it a day. And there was never a hint of her considering dropping at that point. And I just thought that was very cool. It wasn't like a debate. It felt like she resolved somewhere out on the trail that she was going to make it to the finish. Right now, the tracker estimates that she'll be here in about 30 minutes. The runner behind her, the tracker estimates, will be here in about 42 minutes. That's Emma Stewart from Ireland, who we should give a shout out to. The 12th, 13th place women are almost to the Flagere, so in all likelihood, won't be able to catch up to Courtney. So in all likelihood, she'll likely finish either 10th or 11th, but really it's irrelevant at this point. Her legacy is cemented as one of the greatest of all times. And to your point, I think this will be one of the things that we all remember most. And I guarantee there's going to be thousands of people to greet her in Chamonix,
probably almost an equal number to when she wins the race.
I think people, we want to cheer for, it's so common to cheer for people that are like the dark horse or like the underdog. We see that a lot, but we haven't seen this from Courtney really ever in, she's been at like the height of her career, it feels like, for many, many, many years now. And, so much of who we are and how we are remembered is how we react to difficult situations, and seeing how Courtney has responded, how she has reacted to people around her, is really beautiful. It's very inspiring, and I think that'll probably be the brightest thing about her performance. In the last 24 hours. I also just have to note, she's still in top 10.
I know.
Like,
and she's been walking since Trient.
It's still amazing. It is like mind blowing, because I know it's really then easy. And we see this, sometimes the elites, they get a little bit beat up by commentators, and I listen, sometimes I watch this, and sometimes I just want to say, but can we still appreciate what they're doing? Yeah. Can we still appreciate the fact that it is so hard, that this person just fell flat on their face on the descent, they have blood coming down their leg, and obviously they're moving slowly, but they are still going. They're traveling this great distance. It's so difficult to tell yourself, take another step, when every time you enter an aid station and there's comfort there and there's your family there, and that just by stopping, it can all go away. But then to make yourself stand back up and get back out on that course and continue on. I mean, we've heard the joke our whole entire career, Dylan, it's like, I don't even drive that far. Yeah. I mean, this isn't just a flat road race. Despite how these athletes are feeling, they're climbing up into these really steep technical inclines, into rain, into snow. And whether you're in the front or you're in the back, the courage and the bravery that's required just to even line up at the start line is something to be celebrated. And so to see Courtney with such a decorated career, one of the most decorated careers, and I think I'm not sure anyone will ever surpass her, men or women. It's so amazing what she has done. But and then to see her respond in this way, I'm just, as her friend, I'm really proud of her and so inspired.
Yeah. Okay, well, that is probably the perfect place to close. We just got the men's CCC champion here in studio, Francesco Pupi. So we're going to get to him here shortly. So just to wind things down, some notable drops. I think, in the same time where we're celebrating Courtney's will to get to the finish line, obviously there's some people who had their hearts broken out there on the course, and there's no shame in admitting that and calling it for another day. But people like Hayden Hawks, Dan Jones, Abby Hall, Stephanie Howe, Francois Den, Jean-Philippe Schumi, Chen Lin, Tim Tollefson, Jeff McGavro. There's still a lot of people still battling out on the course who were hopeful for podiums. People like Dakota Jones, I think Steve Kirsch, Matt Seidel, Heather Jackson. So anyway, just want to give a shout out to everybody who had the courage to get to the start line, whether they made it to the finish line or they're still slogging it out there or they called it a little bit short. It was another amazing UTMB.
Really, it really is. And as you know, Dylan, so many of those athletes that you just spoke about, they genuinely dedicated months and months to training for this race. And the heartbreak is real. The heartbreak and what they feel when they go home is not something that they always talk about. It's not always something, they might do a post, they might talk about it in a podcast, but it is very heavy, and it does take weeks sometimes to get over that. You feel like, wow, I did all that only to drop out, 50 miles in. And so, as I was saying earlier, the most beautiful thing about the sport is but then what do you do next? Yeah. And I can say that everyone that you have just listed, all of them have also had the most incredible, inspiring performances. They've all finished at the top of the podium. And this is a part of our sport. Yeah. It's the highs and the lows. dream race day is guaranteed to no one. And I think that because the sport is so hard, that's why some of our best friends come out of the sport, because we struggle together. We encourage one another. It genuinely does take a team. And whether you are back of the pack or front of the pack, we all understand each other in this. We understand the challenge and the heartache of getting to that finish line. So I'm still cheering for everyone. We're going to still have people finishing all night and tomorrow. So, yeah.
All right, well, let's call it there, Sally, but a beautiful sentiment to close on. So to our audience, a big thank you for watching the coverage here. Again, this is sort of our instant reaction show. Make sure you go check out live.utmb.world to see how things end up playing out with Courtney Dauwalter and beyond. There's still so many more hours. This race won't be called until, I think, tomorrow at 3:45 local time PM, sort of right before the awards ceremony. So a big good luck to everybody who's still out on the course and who still has miles and miles to go and mountains to climb. As we sign off, thank you to the team behind the scenes, Harmony Bowman, Ryan Thrower, Brett Jorgensen. Thank you to Hoka. Go to hoka.com. Check out that Mafate 5. Thanks also to Red Bull and Sun God. You saw our boy Jim Walmsley smashing a Red Bull while he was in studio. We saw Tom Evans drink a Red Bull out of a shoe at the finish line. Both Tom Evans and Ruth Croft were wearing Sun God sunglasses out there. If it's good enough for UTMB champions, it's good enough for you. Go check out all of our sponsors, and a big thank you for their support. Sally, always fun to chat with you. You're the best.
Always fun. Let's do it again.
You're the best. For Sally McRae, I'm Debo. See you guys later. Peace out.